Look at your skin. If it's scattered with freckles, the little spots that come out in the sun and fade in the winter, you're carrying something most people never think about. That isn't random. It isn't just a quirk of your face. Those freckles are a message written in your DNA that was sent to you across tens of thousands of years. And the message is a location. Freckles are, in a very real sense, a map. And if you follow that map back far enough, it almost always points to the same cold, gray, sun-starved corner of the world. So before we get there, let's answer the question your skin has been quietly asking your whole life. Why do you have them at all? And who were the people that gave them to you? Start with what a freckle actually is, because once you understand the mechanism, the history writes itself. Your skin contains cells that make a pigment called melanin. Melanin is your body's natural sunscreen. It's the thing that darkens your skin to absorb and block the sun's ultraviolet radiation before that radiation can damage the DNA in your cells. In most people with darker skin, that melanin is spread out fairly evenly, a consistent shield across the whole body. But in people with freckles, something different happens. The pigment doesn't spread evenly. Instead, when the sun hits, it clumps. It gathers into little concentrated spots, leaving the skin between them pale and exposed. A freckle is, basically, your skin trying to make sunscreen and doing it in patches instead of a smooth coat, which raises an obvious question. Why would anyone's body be bad at the one job that protects it from the sun? And the answer is that for your ancestors, being good at blocking the sun was the last thing they needed. Here's where it goes deeper, because skin color is not really about beauty or race the way people think. At the deepest level, it's about a war your body has been fighting for hundreds of thousands of years, between two things you can't live without. On one side, the sun's ultraviolet radiation is dangerous. Too much of it damages your cells and destroys a vital nutrient in your blood called folate. So in places with intense sun near the equator, evolution favored dark, melanin-rich skin to block all that radiation. That's why the earliest humans in sun-drenched Africa had dark skin. It was armor. But here's the other side of the war. Your body also needs the sun. You cannot make vitamin D without it. Ultraviolet light hitting your skin is what triggers your body to produce it. And without vitamin D, your bones weaken, your immune system falters, and you get sick. So skin is a compromise. Enough pigment to protect you from the sun, but not so much that it blocks the sunlight you need to survive. And the perfect balance depends entirely on one thing: how much sun is falling where you live. Now follow your ancestors north. As humans spread out of Africa and migrated into Europe, especially the far north, they walked into a completely different world of light. The sun up there is weak. It's low in the sky. It's blocked by cloud for much of the year, and in winter it barely shows up at all. For a dark-skinned person built for the equator, this was a serious problem. Their skin was so good at blocking ultraviolet light that, in the dim northern sun, they couldn't absorb enough to make the vitamin D they needed. Their armor was now starving them. So in that cold, gray, low-sun environment, evolution flipped its priorities. The pressure was no longer to block the sun. It was to catch every last drop of it. And the people who survived and thrived in the north were the ones whose skin had lost much of its pigment, gone pale, and learned to soak up what little light there was. Pale skin wasn't a defect. In the north, it was the upgrade. And this is where the freckle and the map finally come into focus. There's a specific gene at the center of this story. Scientists call it MC1R. This gene is one of the master controls for what kind of melanin your body makes and how it behaves. In most of the world, this gene comes in a standard form that produces that smooth, protective, evenly spread pigment. But in the populations that settled the far north of Europe, a whole cluster of variations in this one gene became common. These variants do something specific. They shift the body toward producing less of the dark protective pigment and more of a lighter, reddish one, and they make the pigment clump unevenly instead of spreading smoothly. And that exact genetic recipe produces a very recognizable package: pale skin, a tendency to burn rather than tan, often red or light hair, and freckles. The freckles aren't separate from the pale skin and the red hair. They're all the same genetic signature, the fingerprint of those northern variants, showing up on your face. So where did that signature come from? Overwhelmingly, it traces back to one region: the British Isles, Ireland, Scotland, and the surrounding northern and western fringes of Europe, along with parts of Scandinavia. These cold, cloudy, sun-poor lands are where those MC1R variants reach their highest concentrations anywhere on Earth. Ireland and Scotland in particular have some of the highest rates of these variants, and the highest rates of red hair and heavy freckling of anywhere on the planet. So if you've got a face full of freckles, the odds are very strong that somewhere in your family tree, maybe recently, maybe many generations back, there were people standing in the rain and the weak gray light of those northern islands, their skin perfectly tuned to wring vitamin D out of a sky that almost never gave them enough sun. Your freckles are, quite literally, an inheritance from them, a trait that was shaped by that specific latitude, that specific weak sunlight, that specific gray sky, and then handed down through the centuries until it landed on you. But here's the part that turns this from a fun fact into something stranger. The same genes that gave you those freckles came with hidden passengers. That MC1R signature doesn't just affect how you look. People who carry these variants tend to be more sensitive to certain kinds of pain and can respond differently to some anesthetics. Meaning, the gene for your freckles may also quietly shape how your body feels a dentist's needle. The variants are linked to a higher risk of skin cancer because the same pale, patchy, low-pigment skin that was a brilliant survival tool in a sunless land becomes a liability the moment you move it into strong sun. The trait that saved your ancestors in the gray north is the same trait that makes you burn on a bright beach. Your freckles are a survival adaptation that's now thousands of miles and thousands of years out of its original home, still running the old program, still trying to catch sunlight in a world where you might be getting far too much of it. And that's the quiet truth hiding in your skin. You are walking around wearing a solution to a problem you've probably never faced, designed for a place you may have never been. Every freckle that darkens on your arm in the summer is your body executing an ancient instruction, written for ancestors who needed every photon they could get in a land where the sun was a stranger. The spots are a kind of memory, your body remembering a sky it has never seen, in a country it may have left generations ago, still preparing you for a winter that, for you, never comes. So the next time the sun brings your freckles out, understand what you're actually looking at. Not a flaw, not a random scattering of spots. A signature, passed down a long chain of survivors who made it through the cold and the dark of the far north, and who left their mark on you in the one language the body never forgets. The map is on your skin, and for most people who carry it, the map points home to the same rainy gray beautiful corner of the world. The only question left is whether you ever knew your skin was telling you where you came from.